just heard, all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to Jesus. And the Pharisees and scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So, Jesus told them a parable. That seems to be what Jesus does. His critics complain about something, so he tells them a story. And I bet the listeners of his day didn't get the point. In Luke's gospel, Jesus didn't just tell them the story of the son we now call the prodigal son. He told them the story of the lost sheep out of a flock of 100, and about the woman who had lost her 10 coins, who had lost one of her 10 coins. He told them those stories first. Stories that one is just as important as many, and how we rejoice over recovering something which is lost. He told those stories first. Sometimes, in seeming greater proportion, the thing that we prize is that which is missing. Such is the way Jesus is telling them. Then comes the parable of this morning's reading, the story of the younger son, who is asking for his inheritance, asking to receive all the gifts and grace he is due, and then goes and squanders all he is given. That's what prodigal means, one who lives lavishly or recklessly. And Jesus uses what is an all too real example. One child being blessed takes his blessings and gifts for granted and throws it away on temporary pleasures. We do that as a society, as a culture too. We waste our plenty. We take the bounty of the earth and sea and consume it as if it will last forever. The one from whom all blessings flow has given us much, and we assume it will always be there. But such is not the case. Like in today's story, when the son runs out of money, we too can burn through our inheritance, burn through the treasure until we are left with nothing. Until we hit the bottom of the barrel. And if we are unlucky, like the second son was in today's story, when the bottom comes, there also might be a drought or a famine in the land. God doesn't offer guarantees of continual rains or continual blessings. So where can we turn when we do hit bottom? Who do we turn to when we have sinned? Jesus tells us, by who he eats with. We can turn to God, because God will never turn away from us. God just doesn't eat with the righteous and the holy. God sits down and breaks bread with the unclean and seemingly undeserving. It is we who sit in judgment. We who won't partake of the feast God shares with those who sit down with him. God speaks to the first son, reminding him that he has always been with God, that his blessings and inheritance hasn't gone away because God accepts back the one who had strayed. When I look at the world and see those with plenty, decrying aid to those who have nothing, I want to tell them, you are not being diminished. If someone who is extremely wealthy were to give away half of their kingdom to the poor and the sick, they would still be blessed beyond measure. There is not a limit to the amount of grace that there is to go around, people. But when we can and do hoard it, the plenty, when we hoard the plenty out of fear that it will go away, we create inequity. We create injustice. This story of the son is a story of redemption of the son who has lost it all. And God is still there with open arms. There was nothing about God giving back to the son who squandered his inheritance more inheritance. That is the point that the first son misses. God is just happy that we want to be in relationship with him again. Just happy that we remember where our home is. And let's be happy for our brother or for our sister and for our Father. And remember that we're still blessed. Now, I'm one of the sinners Jesus would have been eating with in this prelude to the story. I am. I've led a very checkered path. I've been married more than once, been a drunk, been separated from the church and from the community of God most of my adult life. But God never rejected me. I rejected God. Still, God welcomed me back with open arms, blessed me by never turning away, sat down and ate with me once more, and then put me to work. Put me to work in the field in the way that God needs me to work in the world. We don't hear in this parable what those of you who are familiar with Paul Harvey might have said, what was the rest of the story? What happened to the prodigal son after the feast? But that's not the point. The point is redemption and God accepting us back no matter what. Today, what I would like you to take away from this parable is the truth behind what the scribes and the Pharisees noticed about Jesus at the very beginning. That he welcomes and eats with sinners. And I would like you to take away from this parable the truth of who we believe told it. The divine doesn't discriminate against one type of sin or another. God will welcome the person who is seen as a sinner in the society and the person who sinfully judges that sinner. God will lay out a banquet for the wayward and cajole the person who has never strayed to join the redemption feast. God loves us all without condition. And that is what the sins are in this context. They're the conditions. God loves us all and will welcome us to the table if we're a saint or not. The feast, though, is not the end of the story by a long shot. Life will go on. We will be asked to do better tomorrow, to love more tomorrow, to not be wasteful today and tomorrow. But we are all welcome at the table. And I would like to invite you all to the table of the Lord. If you have sinned, you are forgiven. If you have judged others, you are forgiven. If you have toiled mightily in the fields of the Lord, thank you. And join us sinners. We hunger. We thirst. And in Jesus Christ we get food and drink.